In today's video, I'm going to talk about food seasonings and the effects it has on your body. Coming up. Hi everyone, this is Ernesto from Attaboy Cowboy, and on this channel, we give you health and wealth tips to help you be successful. In today's video, I'm going to talk about food seasonings and its effect on your body. I was talking to my sister this week and we made a really awesome discovery. I love going to my mom's house for dinner, but whenever I go over, the next day I wake up and I feel like I was out drinking all night. I feel like I have a hangover, and I don't drink alcohol. I wake up, my face is all puffy, my eyelids are puffy, I looked all inflamed, I'm really tired, I feel lethargic, and I'm swollen, and I just don't get it. So I invited a few friends over for dinner and they had the same effects. And this is something that's been going on for years at my mom's house. And I feel bad because I like going over there for dinner and they like cooking for me, but I get sick. So a lot of times when I go there, I avoid the food or I eat very little because I don't want that feeling afterwards. And every time I go over, I explore, I look through the cabinets, I try to figure out what is causing this. And my conclusion was that it was salt, because they eat really salty food. They like a lot of salt. And I thought it was salt all this time. Till recently, I was over there talking to my sister about some research I was reading on MSG and how it's the primary ingredient in chicken consomme. In particular, there's a brand called Knorr that's worldwide. You can find it everywhere. People use it a lot, especially in like Latin cooking. So I was talking to my sister about it and she goes, wow, we put that in everything. I said, what? She goes, yeah, you didn't know that? We put it in our potato salad, our mashed potatoes. I said, oh my gosh. She goes, yeah, mommy buys big buckets of it and we spoon it into our soups and everything. We've been doing that since we were kids. I never noticed that. I never saw them doing that. And I said, no wonder we have all these problems. And I started talking to my sister and she was telling me, yeah, that's why my sister Patricia, my sister Kimberly, and my mom, after dinner, they wake up the next morning, their ankles are swollen and they're always taking water pills to lower their water retention. They couldn't quite figure it out why they always had these issues with water retention. So we removed the chicken consomme from our diet and they started buying a natural alternative, and there went the problems with the inflammation. Now I'm able to eat there in peace. I don't have any problems. I don't get the headaches. My sisters aren't getting all the inflammation and the breathing problems. They were getting a lot of breathing problems. It was causing their asthma symptoms to act up. They were having asthma attacks. So MSG, or monosodium glutamate, is very toxic. It's something you definitely want to avoid. It's in a lot of commercially processed foods. It's in Chinese food, it's in a lot of fast food. It really causes a satiating effect on people. So it's kind of addicting, and that's why people like it. But I know some people, like my cousin, and a lot of the patients I see, they'll tell me that when they go to a restaurant and they eat it, they immediately start having health problems. So anyway, that's one item, but there's a lot of other seasonings that you want to avoid in commercially processed food and in fast food, because remember, they're always going to use the cheapest alternatives, and those are the things that are usually going to be the worst for your health. So let's go into my kitchen here and let me share with you some of the items that I use to spice up my food and to add flavor to everything I eat. Now, MSG is simply an amino acid, and it's actually naturally occurring in a lot of foods. However, MSG is also very inexpensive and it's a very good preservative. So it's added to a lot of processed foods. When you ingest large amounts of monosodium glutamate along with salt, such as when you eat Chinese food, it's going to cause you to excrete a lot of water. That's going to cause that thirst that you have whenever you eat MSG. Those are the minor symptoms. Now, some people have very severe symptoms when it comes to MSG. I've had patients that have reported having spikes in blood pressure, migraine headaches, sweating, flushing, nausea, heart palpitations, fevers, and chest pain. So some of this stuff can be really scary. So MSG is not something that you want to look for in your food. You want to try to avoid it as much as possible. And some people it actually has effects on their endocrine system. So that can cause much more severe symptoms. So you want to look for things, if you're going to buy seasoning, first off, look for things that either don't list MSG or clearly say no MSG in the ingredient list. That's the first tip. Avoid MSG in your diet. Now, there is no link between heart attacks and strokes and high levels of salt consumption. Let me repeat that again, because we've heard that for years. That's actually a myth. They say, oh, lower your salt consumption or you're going to have a heart or stroke. There is no correlation between the two. Now, eating high amounts of salt is not good for you because, like anything, you want to eat it in moderation. But there's no research that shows that it actually causes those issues. It does cause spikes in blood pressure. Now, there's different types of salt. As you know, when you go to the store, there's kosher salt, there's sea salt, there's iodized salt, there's pink salt. And what's the difference? Well, there isn't much difference. It's actually all the same thing. It's sodium chloride, and it's beneficial to your body. We actually need it to help maintain our electrolyte balances. So salt is good. Small amounts of salt in your diet is healthy. We need it. Now, I typically don't use salt in my food because most foods have salt in them naturally. So you really don't need to add much to your food. But if I'm going to eat beans or guacamole or some chips or something like that, they definitely do not taste good without salt. So I make sure I add small amounts of salt to that. Now, iodized salt is good because we need iodine in our diet, and it's hard to get iodine in your diet. It's not easy to find. So one of the ways you can get it is by eating seaweed or the different types of sea plants, because that's going to have iodine in it from the ocean. That's going to help you. Or you can just buy a less processed salt, because again, iodized salt is processed, so it may have other chemicals in it that you don't want. So eating sea salt is probably the best. It's natural, it's balanced. If you've ever been somewhere where they make sea salt, what they'll do is they'll dig a pit, then they'll trench a canal from the ocean, allow the water to come in, close that off, and just let it sit there for a few weeks. And what happens is the sun naturally evaporates all the water out of there, and it leaves the sea salt behind. That sea salt is gathered up, packaged, and sold in the markets. And that's the most natural. It's probably the best type of salt you could take. But there's also pink salt. I just happen to have some pink salt here at home. And this is typically made from, it's just regular salt, but the color is pink. Now, the majority of this salt comes from places like Afghanistan or Pakistan, where they have a lot of this salt. It's basically areas where there used to be ancient oceans that dried up, and it's salt that got stuck into mines and large deposits. The pink color comes from iron and magnesium. It's actually more from the iron. It oxidizes and it gives the salt that pink color. Now, there's some benefits to that, but it's such low quantities, it really doesn't make much of a difference. So when you go to the store and you see sea salt and pink salt, sometimes the pink salt is 5-10 times more expensive. It's not really worth the extra money. You're better off just buying the sea salt. You're not going to get much of a benefit from it. Another thing you want to keep in mind is whatever you eat, you want to make it as healthy as you can so you can ingest other health benefits. Now, I know folks that I talk to, some of my patients that say, hey, I use salt, I use this, I use that. Okay, that's cool. Salt has some benefits, But if all you're using is salt, you're missing out on benefits of other things. Some of the things you can use are herbs and spices. They have medicinal properties in them. Now, which ones are the best ones to use? Good question. Now, I tend to not like things in plastics. I try to avoid plastic bottles like this. I just feel like they leach into food. And they're bad for the environment. I prefer buying things that are in metal, like this Kroger can here, or in glass bottles. Now these tend to be more expensive, or even plastic bags. So if cost is an issue, you can still buy stuff in plastic to try to substitute out using less salt, which is not very creative. Using spices and herbs is much better. Now the other thing I like is buying whole spices and herbs. Now here's some nutmeg. If you've ever seen nutmeg before, this is what nutmeg looks like. It's like a seed, and you grind it up fresh to add to your food. And obviously, because it's freshly ground, you're going to have a lot more health benefits. It's going to have more antioxidants in it. So fresh, whole herbs and spices are the best. These are bay leaves I use for my beans. They help get rid of gas. So if you have issues with flatulence with beans, you can put bay leaves in them, and that will help get rid of the issues that some folks have with gas. Now, here's some fresh rosemary. I have here again some cinnamon in a glass bottle. And again, I grind it myself because I want to get some of those benefits from it. Now, this is one of my favorites, pepper. Pepper is really good for your health. And if you can get it with a grinder like this, so you're fresh grinding it into your food, it's going to be a lot more nutritious for you. And the flavor and the smell is much stronger than pepper that's already been ground and been sitting in a bottle. Now, one of the benefits of pepper that I like is adding pepper to your food actually stimulates gastric juices. And what that causes is a higher absorption rate of vitamins and minerals during meals. So next time you go to a restaurant, you're eating your meal, and you see the salt and the pepper shakers, add some pepper to your food. That's going to help stimulate gastric juice, which is going to increase absorption of nutrients. So pepper is really good. I like using some of these seasoning salts, especially if they don't have MSG, because they have paprika, they have other types of chili peppers and spices, and they may still have some salt, but it's in low quantities. So you're going to get a variety of other spices and herbs in your food that may have some health benefits for you. Now, one of my favorite things to use is curry powder. Curry is really good for you. Now, when you eat Indian food and you eat Indian curries, they have a lot of curry in it. And curry is a really strong antioxidant, and it's really good for your joints. If you have inflammation, arthritis like osteoarthritis, gout, rheumatoid arthritis, turmeric is excellent for that. It's a really good anti-inflammatory. It's really great for your brain. It decreases brain aging, decreases memory issues. It helps for healing broken bones. It has a really broad variety of health benefits to it. So I really like turmeric. And again, if you can use raw herbs and spices, those are going to be even better. Those are going to be even much more potent and much better for your health. You can always go to the go-to flavorings like garlic and onion. I love garlic and onion. I actually did a research project on that in school where I wrote about allium sativum. That's the active ingredient in garlic and onion that gives you a lot of health benefits. If you've ever chopped up an onion, you'll notice that in the beginning when you chop, there's nothing going on. After a few seconds or minutes, you'll start to cry. That's actually the allium sativum activating with the oxygen. The oxygen actually activates that chemical in it and makes it more potent. The same thing goes for garlic. Garlic has higher amounts of allium sativum in it. Allium sativum is a really strong antiviral, antibacterial, anti-parasitic. So they're very good for traveling. When I travel, wherever I go, I like to buy a braid of garlic, and I like to carry it in my bag in case I have any issues, gastrointestinal issues or otherwise. It's great for all sorts of things. I even use it as an insect repellent. I use it for mosquitoes. I'll cut the garlic, I'll allow the air to activate it. Once I let it sit for a few minutes, I'll rub the garlic on my skin. Now, it doesn't sound very good, but it's great for getting rid of mosquitoes and preventing yourself from getting bit. If you ever have diarrhea or any other types of issues with your stomach when you travel, garlic is great. I actually had this really cool experience. I went to Thailand, and I was up in the north of Thailand at Chiang Mai, and I caught salmonella from some Indian food. I went to an Indian restaurant, and all the locals told me, don't go there, it's really dirty, whatever. I thought, well, I'm tired of eating Thai food, even though it's one of my favorite foods. I just want to try something different. So I went in, I sat down, the people were really cool, and I ordered this huge dish, a sampler. And I was so impressed because I sat down and I literally had my plate like in 2 minutes. And I thought, wow, this is great service. What I wasn't thinking was that food was probably sitting out somewhere. And that's why they were able to serve me so quick and bring it to me. But I wasn't thinking about that. I was just so hungry. So I ate the whole thing. I went back to my hut, which was up in the mountains, and I got really bad diarrhea and vomiting and fever and all the other symptoms that come with salmonella poisoning. And if you're not familiar with it, it can be deadly. It's very bad. It's not something you want to get. But I couldn't get down from the mountain. I was so weak, I was just lying in bed. I literally started saying goodbye to my family and thinking about, not about reincarnating into another life. Because it actually lasted for 3 days and I couldn't leave my room. The thing that saved my life was having that garlic. I was literally sleeping around 23 to 23 and a half hours a day. So basically I was so exhausted. I remember being so weak, just opening my eyes took a tremendous amount of effort. I opened my eyes, I mustered all my strength, I smashed up some garlic, I let it sit for a few minutes, and I just swallowed it with some water. And I could feel the heat in my stomach, and then I would just fall asleep again, knock out. Maybe a few hours later, I'd wake up, and I was awake again for like 5-10 minutes, drink a bunch of water, eat some more garlic, and back to sleep again. Luckily, it was so hot there, I had a case of water, and I had a big braid of garlic. So I had everything I needed to cure myself. 3 days later, I looked up at my watch or my cell phone, and I thought, wow, it's been 3 days. And I've been here in bed. And I didn't really know anybody. No one checked up on me. And I had my room rented for like a week, so no one really checked on me. I mustered enough strength to go to the restroom, had some more garlic, took another nap, and I finally was able to stand up and walk down the mountain. I walked down the mountain, I went to a clinic, and they told me, hey, you have salmonella. Do you want some antibiotics? Do you want all these different things they want to give me? And I thought, not really, not at this point. I already killed it using the garlic. So what I took was I took some electrolytes, I took some other things to get me back into shape so I can continue traveling. But if it wasn't for that garlic, I probably wouldn't be here making this video for you today. So if you're a traveler, I strongly recommend carrying garlic with you. And again, it's definitely a great option to use in your food. It has a lot of health benefits. So again, if you have any questions, please comment below. Thank you for listening. This is Ernesto from Attaboy Cowboy.